The Not So Great Outdoors contains stories of a graphic nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
The outdoors are great, except when they're not.
Welcome to the Not So Great Outdoors. We're your guides. I'm Sab.
And I'm Piff, and this week, for episode 50, we are doing the Salem Witch Trials!
Woo! I'm so excited. 50!
Happy 50th episode!
Woo! I feel like we should have, like, poppers.
I have that confetti thing.
I'm kidding.
My husband would not be thrilled if I did confetti in our house. We've not lived here that long.
Like the notorious New Year's Eve party.
2018. Yeah, I was going into 2018. Yeah, but yeah, that was a good time. Confetti everywhere.
Still being found.
Yes, there is. That is a fact.
And it took place in Ohio.
We live in Kentucky. The glitter has made it all the way to Europe.
Really?
Yep. Once I came out of shaded.
Wow.
Once I came out of a cave, I'd been underground for like 10 hours in Georgia, and I come out of a cave and I take off my leggings because they're like soaking wet. Take them off, and stuck to the back of my thigh is a piece of that glitter.
Jeez, it was like the big glitter, you know, people at home who don't.
It was like confetti glitter.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be easier to clean up. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was young and dumb, so I'm still dumb. No, I'm just not as young anymore.
Anyway.
Happy Halloween as well.
Yay!
Happy everything.
Yeah.
It is the last episode of Spooktober. It's our 50th episode. So we're doing Salem Witch Trials because what else would we do?
I feel like I should have prepared for this more because like this is the only time I've ever known what you were going to talk about. And I feel like I should have prepared something because I knew about it, but I didn't. Because I'm a slacker. But also, if you were not watching along on YouTube, you're missing out on Piff's fabulous witch hat.
I just got it.
A witch hat?
It is a witch hat.
It's just so cute.
It is a witch hat. I got it. What?
I just had a thought. It looks like a flower. Like from this angle, like you know how it attaches
like upside down. Yeah.
Yes, it's like you're wearing a flower hat. That's so not witchy, but still, it's so cute though. It is a witch hat. It's so cute.
Yeah. Like I got this because we were going to have a costume contest at work. And I was like, oh, I'll just be a witch because I got that cloak. That'd be a great excuse to wear a cloak to work, you know, right?
Yeah.
We're not having it anymore.
Why?
Because we're doing a murder mystery and they were going to do a costume contest. And they were like, that's too much. So we're just doing the murder mystery now.
That's never too much.
Yeah, I'm like, you could dress up for the party.
Wait, is the murder mystery happening during business hours?
Yes.
Oh. That's because then you can't have alcohol.
No, you cannot have alcohol. It's at like noon on a Monday.
Not as fun. You could have, I guess, virgin, like mocktails?
Mocktails. I haven't decided what we're doing yet. I forgot that I was doing it and then was reminded today. So I've been planning it? It's Monday.
Piff! Oh, my Lord. I just about called you Piffany. Piffany!
It'll be done. I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So,
Salem
Witch Trials. We wanted to do something special for our 50th episode. So we're covering the Salem Witch Trials. Is this directly outside? Not technically. But a lot of the punishments did happen to occur outside. And so we're bending rules a little bit.
Yeah. They involve natural elements like water and fire.
Also, it's not like we've never done anything that's like barely close to the outside before. It's our podcast. We do what we want.
I feel like if somebody got mad about it, they would have gotten mad about it by now. Like we would have heard about it by now.
20 episodes ago.
Yeah. A year ago.
Yeah.
I feel like we've stretched it from the beginning.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But before we really dive in, I am wondering, Sav, did you ever read The Crucible in school?
Yep. And we watched the movie.
I assume we watched the movie, but I don't remember watching the movie. I do very distinctly remember reading it in high school.
Yeah, we read it out loud in class.
So I was
for like 3 weeks. And I was like, dear God.
Way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a whole unit on one play.
Yeah.
So surprising to me when I was doing my research, some of the characters in the play were based on real people that are involved in this. And did the author of that play take a lot of liberties? And should it by no means seen as a historical account correct? But it is like interesting because I figured that it was like just inspired. by the witch, but it's like, no, he used real people's names. So according to the author of the play, in a note on historical accuracy of the play that he wrote, quote, "This play is not history in the sense in which the word is used by the academic historian. Dramatic purposes have sometimes required many characters to be fused into one. The number of girls involved in the crying out has been reduced. Abigail's age has been raised. While there were several judges of almost equal authority, I have symbolized them all in Hawthorne and Danforth. However, I believe that the reader will discover here the essential nature of one of the strangest and most awful chapters in human history. The fate of each character is exactly that of his historical model, and there is no one in the drama who did not play a similar, and in some cases, exactly the same role in history." End quote. So with that said, let's buckle up and dive into the Salem Witch Trials.
What?
So according to Encyclopedia Britannica, quote, "The events in Salem in 1692, which one time I did write 1962 in my notes, and I was rereading them today, and I was like,
Whoa.
1962, that feels wrong." Because it is. In 1962, were but one chapter in a long story of witch hunts that began in Europe between 1300 and 1330 and ended in the late 18th century with the last known execution for witchcraft taking place in Switzerland in 1782.
Switzerland.
Yes, surprising everybody.
Yeah.
The Salem Trials occurred late in the sequence after the abatement of the European witch hunt fervor. The number of trials and executions varied according to time and place, but it is generally believed that some 110,000 persons in total were tried for witchcraft and between 40,000 to 60,000 were executed. End quote. So that's our like background on witch trials in general. We're obviously going to be focusing on Salem, so let's set the scene. Let's talk about Salem, Massachusetts in the 17th century, late 1600s, 17th century. So at the time, there were actually two Salems. Fun fact.
Really?
The Salem that survives to today is not the same Salem that the witch trials happened in.
But yet people go there.
Yes.
For the witchy stuff.
Yes.
I mean, and they monetize that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Capitalize on that. But
for sure.
So what is that today? Like, what is Old Salem today?
I did not write it down. I think it's Danvers, Massachusetts. I have a little bit more information. So Salem Town, which was a port community that was full of hustle and bustle, new people and things, and that's the site of modern day Salem. But
Okay.
Salem Village was roughly 10 miles away from Salem Town. It was a considerably smaller community, a lot poorer. It was a farming community. And Salem Village was actually where all the witch trials happened.
Okay.
So close by, 10 miles. But the like main...
Like a 10-mile radius from Salem as we know it today.
Yes.
Somewhere within a 10-mile radius.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure it was like Danvers or Davers or something like that. Starts with a D now.
I never knew that.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Additionally, there was a well-known family feud that possibly played into the cause of all of these witch trial chaos.
Why does that not surprise? You know the movie Klaus?
Yes.
That's what I'm picturing right now. That family feud.
Yeah.
Or the whatever.
Where they're
Yeah.
just...
That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah. So, according to Encyclopedia Britannica at Britannica.org, quote, "The village itself had a noticeable social divide that was exacerbated by a rivalry between its two leading families. The well-heeled Porters, who had strong connections with Salem Town's wealthy merchant, the other Salem, Salem Town, and the Putnams, who sought greater autonomy for the village and were the standard bearers for the less prosperous farm families." End quote.
Okay.
So we have the Porters and we have the Putnams. Did I write down everybody's names that we're about to talk about? No, but just know that a lot of one family is accusing a lot of the other family of witchcraft this entire time.
Why do I feel like it's a lot of the Porters are accusing a lot of the Putnam?
I think that's correct,
I feel like the rich people would 100% blame the poor people.
I saw Goody Proctor with the devil. From the Crucible.
Oh. Sorry. I heard Proctor. We've got Putnam.
Porter.
Proctor.
I don't know.
I was like, what?
Saw fucking everybody with the devil. So our story begins in January of 1692.
Not 1962.
Not 1962, but 1692. It's very easy to get those 2 years confused. Very similar in our history, obviously.
Oh, yes.
2 young girls were having these unexplained fits. I'm going to keep using the word fits because depending on the account, depends on what they were. I'm going to go into some of like how they were described. But like fits could be any of the following. They ranged from violent contortions and uncontrollable outbursts of screaming to throwing things and uttering peculiar sounds. We actually have some other explanations that I'll get to. Okay. But, you know, also to me, some of these feel like just like a 9-year-old that's bored.
Yeah.
Like
okay, so
uncontrollable screaming.
Okay.
Yeah, like children.
I'm thinking like teenager. Okay.
No, like so children.
Actual child.
Actual child.
Yeah. Bored 9-year-old then.
Yeah.
I mean, could
like the violent contortions, that feels like something that they're not
like
doing.
A seizure, yeah.
But like uncontrollable screaming, how uncontrollable?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Like if you give them what they want, do they shut up or do they keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like where are we at here?
So one source also stated that they likely had been told tales of voodoo by one of their enslaved people named Tituba, who comes up later, and had been practicing future telling due to this. Which to me seems like a stretch, but I wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they were, first of all, you're telling me that these young children were allowed to be told about voodoo.
I was gonna say, you're telling me that these kids were allowed to be left alone with a slave, first of all. Or anywhere near, or like could talk to one.
A lot of enslaved people were like wet nurses and like nannies basically.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So they were left alone a lot, but I feel like if your dad is the town pastor and you have an enslaved person at your house and your dad found out that she was teaching you voodoo or telling you about voodoo, she would be dead.
Yeah. Also, using the phrase pastor and enslaved person in the same sentence, just ugh.
Yeah, and her dad was the father was like that's historically accurate.
Yeah, it just makes me ugh.
Yeah. I don't know how to react to that, so I was just like thumbs upping.
Yeah. We're better. A bit.
We hope so. God damn, I hope
so.
I hope so.
I hope so.
So some other possible explanations of these quote fits were some combination of asthma, encephalitis, I don't know what that is, Lyme disease, epilepsy, child abuse, and delusional psychosis. But my favorite possible explanation, and also the one that I think is most likely, because this did affect multiple. It started off one household, these 2 young girls, and then it kind of spread, and a lot of young girls were like afflicted by this. Is according to history.com, these might have been a result of a mild poisoning by the fungus ergot, ERGOT, if you want to Google it. Quote, in an effort to explain by scientific means the strange afflictions suffered by those bewitched Salem residents in 1692, a study published in Science magazine in 1976, I said that correctly, cited the fungus ergot found in rye, wheat, and other cereals, which toxicologists say can cause symptoms such as delusions, vomiting, and muscle spasms, end quote. Also, I did do a quick Google, and it looks like that fungus is also the fungus used in the creation of LSD.
Oh, they're tripping out.
Yeah.
They're tripping hard.
That's what I'm choosing to believe here.
Yes, and which would make sense, like if it was the farming families.
Uh-huh. And so, like nowadays, we have all these processes in like our milling that really reduce the risk of this getting into our grain. But back then, they did not have the technology to like purify their grains from these spores. And they just get in the bread, and then you eat the bread, and now you're tripping on acid.
Yep. And that's still, it's called ergotism, and it's still a thing that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ingest it.
Ah.
So
Holy crap. Because it's not like it's a mushroom.
No.
You know, so it's not like, oh, don't eat the mushroom. You saw what happened to Martha. Like, don't do that.
Don't do those mushrooms.
Yeah. No, it was, it's on, yeah, it just grows on the plant.
Mhm.
Like, it's like the spores. They probably didn't even know it was there.
Yep.
Crazy.
And again, it's the 1600s.
That's insane.
So that's what I choose to believe is like the initial
and that
cause
makes
of this.
Sense.
Right?
Because there's no way so many people could come down with epilepsy at
the same time. Like a psychological
and, like, asthma
disorder
doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you like had asthma and epilepsy, like if it was
like,
with
I feel
something,
like that's rare.
I feel like asthma by itself does not explain any of this.
No.
But
And then maybe sprinkle in one or two people who truly just went crazy.
Yeah, sprinkle like some of them maybe actually psychosis. Most of them probably ate some bad bread.
Yeah.
So the parents of these young girls took their daughters to the local doctor who...
Ooh, I'm sorry. I just had another thought.
Okay.
Do you think younger people have less of a tolerance?
Yeah, probably their bodies are physically smaller, so it takes a lower dose to cause problems.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
No,
I just
good.
had that thought.
So they were taken to the local doctor who, get this, diagnosed them with bewitchment. Because the 1600s... Oh, this is also one of my favorite parts. Okay. So doctor diagnoses them with bewitchment. And what do? They're like, let's bake a witch cake because that should cure them. What? Do you want to know what's in a witch cake?
More of that fungus bread? Fungus wheat
I mean, probably. But also the victim's urine.
Which will have the contaminants. Okay.
They peed in a cake. And then they made the cake, and then they ate the cake. They ate a pea cake.
Oh, God. Okay. Founding fathers. Oh.
I mean, this was before them, so.
No.
But then, that didn't work. Shocker. So, because you can't just, be bewitched without there being, like, a witch.
Because you can't cure anything with peeing and eating it.
You can't, like, cure by eating pee. So, they're like, okay, the parents are like, okay, you're bewitched.
The pea cake didn't work.
The pea cake didn't work. Also, just so we're all clear, Pastor Dad, he was not on board with the pea cake, and he was pretty pissed about it.
He was pissed about the pea cake? Can y'all tell it's like 9:30 at night?
Okay, I feel like most people at 9:30 not this slap happy tired. We are just getting old.
It's been a long day.
It has. It's fine.
Good day.
Yep. Okay. So the parents are like, okay, who bewitched you? What happened? Tell us what happened. And the girls are like, I don't know. Unlike the play The Crucible, where they just start saying like, I saw goody so-and-so with the devil. Sources do tend to point towards the parents forcing them into blaming certain people. So it's one of those, because they're like, again, 9 years on, it's like, was it Tituba? Did Tituba do this? And you ask a 9-year-old long enough and they're just going to agree with you.
They're eventually going to be like, sure.
Sure. Can I go play now?
Will you shut up now? Yeah. Will you leave me alone?
So specifically, they blamed the Paris's, that's the parents' last name, Caribbean slave Tituba, along with 2 other women a homeless beggar named Sarah Good, and a poor, elderly, alone woman named Sarah Osborne. And now, I would just like to take some time to point out the blatant power dynamics here, because the original people that kicked this whole thing off, that were originally accused, were an enslaved person and basically 2 other outcast women that nobody liked anyway.
Yeah.
And we
didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, they're like, they're stereotypically outcasts from the society, and they like didn't have a lot in life, and they were already at the mercy of all these people. They had no money, no property, no family to stick up for them. They were like, yeah, you'll do.
Perfect scapegoat.
Yep. So these 3 women were arrested, and this is where like all the hysteria really begins, because we're just building at this point, right?
And all this time, the girls are probably still eating contaminated stuff. I'm just really going for that.
I'm going
theory.
with the bread.
I'm really going with that theory.
They're still eating bad bread. They're still having fits. Stuff's still happening.
And that's the type of thing that just builds. Just like, okay, let's narrow it down to like something modern day. Gluten intolerance or celiac. You keep eating it. You keep eating gluten. Your health is just going to deteriorate more and more and more.
Yep.
Just like when you're slowly consuming toxins, it's just going to keep on building.
Keep on keeping on, yep.
Yeah.
So these 3 women are arrested. And they obviously like question them really intensely. At this point, was there a structure for this? No. So they're just like taking them to court and being like, are you a witch? And they're like, no. Like, are you a witch?
Like,
why are you a witch?
If she drowns, then she was innocent.
Oh, I have more about that later.
If she doesn't, then she's a witch.
I have more about that later.
She can
but
swim, you dumbass. Like,
yes.
Jeez.
And as we all know, I hope, that the way that this spiraled from here was a direct result of like how they set up their questioning and stuff. Because if you admitted to witchcraft, you were just put in jail. And if you denied that you were a witch, you were killed.
Yeah. Tried.
And then killed you.
Yeah.
There was no like you get tried and let off.
No, and it was like they just tested theories to see, well, if she's a witch, then she'll
And I have like more stuff about the trials later.
So dumb.
And also if you like admitted to witchcraft, then they go, okay, well, who else is a witch? And if you don't have names, then then they try to kill you again, or they do. So it's like admit to witchcraft, something you aren't doing, and also take other people down with you, or we're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So
it's a lose-lose here.
Yeah. So when questioned, both Sarah Good, and Sarah Osborne denied any involvement in witchcraft. Were they executed? Yes, they were.
Do we know how?
They were hung.
Oh, okay. So this is before we got to burning at the stake and, drowning.
Yeah. And again, I'll get to it.
I know.
So
I'm not really excited about it, but that's just what you think of.
You think of what? Yeah. So when asked, though, Tituba confessed to witchcraft. Eventually.
Well, same thing as voodoo. Not same thing. I know that, but
that time, there's no sign that she ever even did voodoo.
Also true.
She was like, I'm a Christian. I go to church. My master is a pastor. But at some point it was like, I admit to this or they're going to kill me like they killed those other women. And those other women were white. And I'm black and literally a slave right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to just admit to it.
Yeah.
So she also said that there were other women in the town that she had been practicing witchcraft with, because that was another thing they wanted from her. And this is about her confession, according to SmithsonianMag.com, quote, "But Tituba confessed, the devil came to me and bid me serve him. She described elaborate images of black dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a black man who wanted her to sign his book. She admitted that she signed the book and said there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans. All 3 women were put in jail." End quote. So then Tituba names other women.
So she's like, you know what? Fine. Like, if this is what you want, I'm at least going to try to rip apart the
fabric of your society.
Yeah.
And also, like, she probably had the best understanding of just how, like, terrible these people could be.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't treated as, like, a human.
Yeah. She was treated as property.
So she's like, I'm going to do whatever I have to do right now to not have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Because who knows what they'll do. So the additional women that she named were Martha Corey and Rebecca Nurse, both of whom were actually upstanding members of the church.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. If you're on this ridiculous trial and you're like, well, I can crash and burn alone, or I can crash and burn with the pillars of the community.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do that.
And it was actually noted that this made the town super worried because, like, if those godly women could be witches, then anybody could be.
It's like the game Telephone gone completely wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like groupthink in the game Telephone. All at the same time.
Yes.
And everybody's losing their damn mind.
And nothing is good, and it doesn't work out.
No.
And I also, like, wonder, like, maybe because they had this, like, high status, maybe that's why Tituba said their names, because she's like, they'll be so protected because of their status. Like, I can name them.
Safe. Yeah.
They'll be safe. I'll be safe. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. Either that, or she was like, I'm gonna die anyway. So might as well drag down.
Yeah. She wasn't executed.
She wasn't?
No. Huh. If you admitted to witchcraft, you were not executed.
Right.
You were just jailed.
So what happened to the... I'm sure you... Oh.
Yeah. So she also, and this one I do not understand, accused a 4-year-old, the 4-year-old daughter of Sarah Good. Sarah, who was already accused. Her 4-year-old. And then... did they go, she's literally 4. She can't do anything. No. They arrested and interrogated a 4-year-old. And when a 4-year-old wasn't super coherent because she's 4, they took that as a confession and jailed her.
At least she was jailed. Was she jailed with her mother?
Well, her mother was executed. So
no.
I'm going to guess not.
Well, at least they didn't murder a 4-year-old.
At least they didn't murder a 4-year-old. They did still accuse and convict a 4-year-old of witchcraft, but they didn't kill her.
Thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Clearly not thinking straight.
Maybe we should have diagnosed them with hysteria.
Ooh, that would be a fun twist.
The men. Male hysteria.
So by
I
men,
feel like we both made a face at the camera.
I think we did. So by May of 1692, this all started in like January, February. So by May,
so 5 months later,
they realized that they needed a specific witchcraft court to handle all of these accusations. And so, from history.com, quote, in May 1692, the newly appointed governor of Massachusetts, William Phipps, ordered the establishment of a special court of oyer to hear and terminer to decide on witchcraft cases for Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex counties, end quote. So we got a new governor in Massachusetts, and he was like,
we're going to make this special task.
Yes, a task force. A witchcraft task force, actually.
That's what it would be called today.
That is what it would be called today. But so this task force, it was obviously only men, because only men can make decisions here. Clearly. And they would
make good ones, but, you know.
But they would both hear all of the quote unquote evidence
and
then can do the conviction. Yes.
I feel like
they were judge and jury.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like this is a perfect example of why we don't do that. And we have a separate jury.
Well,
here we go.
The 1600s.
Something right eventually.
So women...
Kind of. I was going to say, for the number of times I've been like, the justice system failed us again.
Yeah, it's questionable at best, but sometimes it works.
We don't have the same person judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So women accused of witchcraft, and a few men.
Which blows my mind. I always forget that part.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of men, but there were a few men there.
Yeah.
But they would have to go before the court without any counsel, which I just need to remind us all is unconstitutional now. But it was 1692, and we were still at least 100 years away from the Revolutionary War and a constitution. So they did what they wanted.
Hamilton wasn't a thing.
Not yet. He was just a little twinkle in his child mother's eye. At this point, actually grandmother, right? 100 years, like 2 generations at least.
Grandmother, maybe even.
Yeah. So according to Britannica.org, which is like my new favorite website. Hello, Encyclopedia Britannica. Thank
Please
you.
Sponsor us. Please don't send us a copy.
I just can use the online version. It's fine. But so this is about the evidence. Quote, most damning for them was the admission of spectral evidence, that is, claims by the victims that they had seen and been attacked, and by attacked we mean pinched, bitten, contorted, by specters of the accused whose forms Satan allegedly had assumed to work his evil. Even as the accused testified on the witness stand, the girls and young women who had accused them writhed, whimpered, and babbled in the gallery, seemingly providing evidence of the specter's demonic presence. End quote. So at this point.
Or it was after lunch and they had bad bread. They were having fits.
Yeah, I also think at this point is where we. So those are the original girls having fits. I think they ate a fungus. But by this point, I think we are using witch trials and accusing people of witchcraft and faking, oh, blah, blah. I can't control my body. Oh, I've gotten pinched. You know, I think now we're using that as a tool to get rid of our family's rivals.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's where we have landed.
Yeah.
I think the start was like genuinely they were sick.
Yeah.
I no longer think all of these people are sick.
No. And then like they're like, oh no, the rival cast this spell on me and bewitched me, and now I'm having these fits. But it's their fault because I'm not the witch. They're the witch. Oh, for sure.
The whole thing.
Finger pointing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the first woman brought to, the new court was Bridget Bishop. She was known around town or village, technically, for being a gossip and promiscuous girl. Dude, did I find any evidence about what we mean by promiscuous? No, but it probably involved seeing her ankles. Anyway.
Probably. Or on the most extreme, she slept around. But I feel like something would have happened to her.
I feel like she would have been stoned before this.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, promiscuous was probably she had an opinion and showed her ankles.
Yeah, she didn't wear 12 petticoats. And that is just unseemly in a young lady. So when asked, she claimed that she was innocent, but the court found her guilty.
Of course.
Because there were teenagers in the stands having fits. And she was hanged only 8 days after her conviction. No room for appeals in this courtroom. 8 days. Possibly one of the most graphic and well-known stories from these trials, quote unquote, because I don't know if it's really a trial if you have no chance, is the story of Giles Corey. Now, I mentioned Giles in our last episode. He was a real person. I did, but it was
good, but I feel stupid still.
It was entertaining. So Giles' wife, Martha, was accused and executed because of witchcraft. And Giles himself was one of a few men who was also accused of witchcraft.
Did his wife accuse him?
No.
Okay.
They were like accused together. And she said, no, didn't do it. And they were like, I think you did. Execute you. And they were like, what's your plea, Giles? But he refused to enter a plea and was then subject to pressing. This is a manner of torture in which large stones are placed on the neck.
Let's remember, this is the time of like drawn and quartered, tarred and feathered, like.
And pressing, where you're literally laid down and then large stones are like laid on you as a torture method until you do what they want. So in this case, enter a plea. If Giles had entered a plea of not guilty, he likely would have been hung. because they would have found him guilty anyway and killed him. And if he had entered a plea of guilty to avoid the hanging, he would have still been in prison and he would have been stripped of all his land and possessions, which means his kids don't get an inheritance. And so he's out here overall
being a good dad.
Yeah, overall he like wasn't the best dude. Don't look into his history too much.
No, but he's at least thinking of his kids.
At this moment, he was like, I will be tortured rather than like
strip my kids of everything.
Yeah, like screw over my kids like that. So
after they've already lost their mom.
He endured, she was actually executed after this happened, but like a couple days. But still,
like knowing that his wife was likely behind him.
Yeah.
You know?
Because she had probably at this point been found guilty.
Yeah.
And like sentenced to death, just hadn't died yet.
Yeah.
So he endured 3 days
oh my God.
of pressing. Every time they would ask him for a plea, he would simply respond, more weight.
Yeah.
And that's
badass.
Yeah. That's how he died.
Like, more weight so I don't have to listen to you anymore.
Yeah. It is important to note that burning and swimming of potential witches was not actually done in America.
Really?
Burning at the stake was something the church did as a punishment for heresy. See Joan of Arc, who is one of my favorite badass women of history. And swimming, which is the drowning float test, that was mostly done in Europe. So here we just like asked you, and if you couldn't prove it, then we killed you. Most of them were killed by hanging, except for Giles, who was killed by pressing. All in all, nearly 200 people were accused of witchcraft in a 1-year period. Of those 200 people, 19 had been hanged and 5 died while in custody. And I don't have this in my notes, but basically what happened was as more and more people were executed, the public support for it went down. And one of the men who was executed recited the Lord's Prayer completely before being hanged, which really cast doubt because witches shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Which really cast doubt. And by the next year, they had pretty much been abolished. So it was like 1 year of a lot of death. And then they were like, whoops, sorry. So to finish, I do have the names of those that were executed because as much as this is a thing of the past, these are real people who lost their lives to hysteria and on like the actions of children.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read through the list. We did talk about some of these people by name. I couldn't find a lot about all of them because it was the 1600s. Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, Bridget Bishop, Rebecca Nurse, Elizabeth Howe, Susanna Martin, Sarah Wilds, George Burroughs, George Jacobs Sr., Martha Carrier, John Proctor, John Willard, Martha Corey, Martha Easty, Mary Parker, Alice Parker, Ann Pudater, Wilmot Red, Margaret Scott, Samuel Wardwell Sr., and Giles Corey. And that is a brief history of the Salem Witch Trials.
Good job.
Thanks. Oh, I forgot. There are photos. They're not actually photos. Oh. They're like drawings from the witch trials. I forgot to say that. Some of them are kind of comical because they're just drawn in that way. I think we have like 3 photos. If you want to see the photos, check out the blog. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, they are. Well, the one in the courtroom is.
The one with the kid like,
yeah, like, whoa.
Yeah. But they're artist sketches.
Yeah.
The court because like, it was the 1600s and we didn't have photography.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that. But also, I wonder at what point we were like, oh, a witch can't recite the entire Lord's Prayer. So then why didn't that become a test? They'd be like, well, okay, if you're not a witch, then recite the Lord's Prayer in its entirety.
Probably because it's too easy. And then they wouldn't have got to kill anybody. Especially, again, that one guy did it like right before he was executed, like rope around his neck, says it to the crowd. And they're like, maybe we shouldn't be killing him. But then they still did.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yep. I don't have anything else to say about that. But happy October.
Happy October. Happy 50th episode.
Happy Halloween. We will be probably going straight from spooky to festive because we tend to do that around here.
I do love Thanksgiving, but I can enjoy Thanksgiving dressed in my Christmas pajamas.
Exactly.
So I will probably put up my tree before Thanksgiving this year, and my husband will just have to deal.
Oh, I have to, because once Thanksgiving happens, we're busy like every weekend.
Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you. If you have been here since episode 1, thank you. I can't even wrap my head around the fact that we have 50 episodes now.
Me either.
Insane. Thank you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. In the meantime,
stay safe out there.
Thanks for watching. Music by Purple Planet. Art by Ruby Congrove. Logo by Catherine Dodds. For more information and our sources, head over to notsogreatoutdoors.com. For updates and announcements, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NSGOPod. Don't forget to subscribe on all of your favorite podcasting platforms.